Hey everybody, it's Irene with BrainStormAcres, and today I'm in the greenhouse. It looks like bubble wrap, and you get it in the widths to suit your spacing between your ribs on your greenhouse, and there has to be a track on each rib, and you snap that stuff in place and it dramatically increases the insulating value. It's also not cheap. Very widely used overseas in various places. Sort of new and not as popular here. I don't know why. My theory is that in the United States, the places that are running greenhouses, although they should be concerned about electrical use and stuff like that, are more interested in the quick turnaround of stuff and not having to put the money into something fancy like the solar wrap. Now, solar wrap comes with a 10-year guarantee. 10 years is a long time. We still think about it periodically, but it's not really high on the list of things to think about. A bunch of people in Arizona will use double-walled greenhouses, and other places in the United States and Canada and every place else too, because that gives you that air layer between the two layers of plastic. Makes all the difference in the world for insulation purposes. I mean, you can run greenhouses up in Canada with double-walled plastic like that. So you can certainly do it here, because I should say generally, because we occasionally get as cold as Canada, but not usually for months. Just in case. we have seen it be -5 for an entire month once, about 14 years ago, I guess now. But so don't ever say, whenever I listen to the folks down south and they're like, oh, it never gets that cold here. And I'm like, talk to the people in Texas who wound up with thousands of dollars worth of electric bills about that. You have to be prepared as you can be. I recognize if you just plain don't have the money, you suck it up in some other way. We have lived in buildings before. We rented a townhouse in Virginia one time, and it was electric heat. And it was the coldest winter that anyone had seen there 25 years. Because it was a condo complex, they had all kinds of rules about the fact that you couldn't put plastic over the outside of your windows because they were all single pane windows. Yeah. And all this kind of stupid stuff. So it was a nightmare. People had electric bills. They had a choice between paying their electric bill and buying groceries. If you have the ability, think ahead. When we built this place, and as we continue to build it, we don't barely sneak by on any of the building codes. If they tell me that my frost line is 12 inches, and I'm just making up numbers here. If they tell me my frost line is 12 inches, I am probably going to put the pipes at 18 or 20 inches. Now, why would I do that? It's a lot more work. It doesn't cost that much more money, except unless you have somebody else digging the stuff. But it's because you're looking at averages. You're looking at, well, it doesn't usually happen. Well, there's been places in the United States and other places in the world that have had 100-year floods every year for the last 5 years. Okay, was it a fluke? Maybe. Maybe it's going to all go back to normal again. Can you risk that? And I think you need to always ask yourself, can you risk that? Right now we have heating tape on all of the water valves on the property. It doesn't really use much power during the day. It only uses power at night when it's heating. So if it gets below, I think if it gets below 40 is what they said turn it on by. If it gets below 40, where your heat tape is, then it will heat the pipes so that they don't freeze. Because I'll tell you what, when you bust your pipes, it's no fun at all. And I see it happen every winter, and I see it on YouTube all the time, where people are busting their pipes because, oh, I didn't know about heat tapes. Oh, I didn't listen to those people. Oh, I didn't. Okay, everybody screws up sometimes. We have frozen pipes before. Some of it was when we got caught and when we first moved out here, and some of our infrastructure was not as sturdy as it is now. We've had heat tapes break. It happens. Everything breaks eventually. We fixed it and we retrofitted it. So there's a couple of things in our area that cause your pipes to freeze. One is just plain the temperature. But if the temperature drops down to 32, your pipe is not going to freeze. What gets you in trouble, and the thing we've gotten consistently in trouble with, is if we've had some sort of precipitation, rain, snow, whatever, and it melts into the ground around the pipe, and now the ground freezes. Now you've got a block of ice with your pipe in it. Your pipe is not only going to be frozen, but you're going to have to defrost the ground in order to get your pipes fixed, or even if they're not broken, it's still going to be solid ice. You're still not going to be able to get water through it. So what we try to do is always create protection in the form of the 2-inch or at least 1-inch foam insulation over the top of that to keep the water out of that section. Just let it roll off in some other direction. And the area around our pipes, and especially our valves on our tanks, the valves, by the way, are brass, not plastic. Plastic breaks a lot easier than brass does, although we have broken a valve before. It's unusual, and the plastic becomes brittle when it gets really cold. So even if you don't break the valve, sometimes when you're trying to turn it, the little ears that you use to turn your valve on and off will break off, which is a pain. You could still turn it, but now you're using a wrench or something instead. You don't want to do that. So do what you can. Think it out, plan ahead, and we all get caught sometimes. So be prepared with spare parts whenever you can. So I hope you find this interesting. Be sure to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell, because obviously we are going to be doing a ton more. I am really curious to see how this works. I'm looking at the fact that one of the things that I'm doing by cutting off the dead sections is I'm putting all the energy that is in the plant into the grow areas. So like this little sprout has doubled in size. So is that one. What I'm looking for is sprouts on specific varieties here that I can lop off and stick in the nursery over here to see what we can get. You're going to have to come back and find out what happens. That's all there is to it. I still need to plant another pot of carrots because this morning I harvested the carrots from the yard. And I'm going to check over these guys again to see if there's any more worms in there, because I never think of there as being one worm. There's always got to be more. So I'll be checking through here again when I get done. But yeah, until next time, bye.